Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
When my way grows drear, precious Lord, linger near. When my life is almost gone, hear my cry, hear my call. Hold my hand, lest I fall. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. When the darkness appears and the night draws near, and the day is past and gone, at the river I stand, guide my feet, hold my hand. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, help me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home.
My friends, it's a great honor to welcome you to this service, a celebration, a thanksgiving for the life of Tom Warth. In these times, it may be even more important that we gather even in unusual ways and in unusual circumstance. So to those of you, the few of us gathered in this place, you are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, and to you who are gathered across the far reaches of this country, indeed the globe, we are so grateful for your presence here. Your prayers, your love surrounds the family and surrounds us all as we together remember the life and the light of Tom. As we gather in this day, there will be an opportunity to share even if you're not with us in the sanctuary. If you're watching on Facebook or the church webpage or on YouTube, we invite you to make use of the comments at any time to share your comments, your likes, your greetings to one another and also to the family, who, while they can't see them now, will be able to share all of them later, and I know that they will be very special. In addition, at the end of the service today, after some readings and some songs that we know Tom would have appreciated and that he loved, we'll invite those of you at home to join us as we light candles here. So if during one of the songs you're able to have a candle with you or to find one, or perhaps an oil lamp and a match or a lighter, there'll be a time when we together share memories of the light that Tom carried for us and that we now carry from him. You'll receive some more instruction about that at the end as we come to that time. It occurs to me that mortality is one of the defining features of human life, one that places the limiters and thus accentuates both the beauty and the presence and the power of all that we do. So many science fiction movies have been predicated on immortality, but I think we forget that without the defining focus of finitude, we may lose sight of the amazing and blossoming gifts that flower all around us. Tom's gifts were many, and we will share a lot about them today in this time. And the gifts have not been interred with him. These gifts are ones that you and I can carry with us. They are no less precious for being all too brief. So let us be in that spirit of prayer at this moment. Let us find the quiet center. Let us leave behind us the cares of this day and allow ourselves to be held in the divine light and love of God. As we gather ourselves in, will you join me in this prayer? Not any of us, Lord, are grateful to have this moment. We would have Tom back in a heartbeat. We would not be weeping. We would be telling stories of the good old days with him laughing alongside us. And yet, insomuch as that is not possible, and insomuch as release and relief have come after a long illness, we are grateful to be able to share this moment with you and with one another. Stretched across the entire globe, stretched across pews here in this sanctuary, laid down on the very foundations of the earth is the love that binds us all. Grant that we may touch, connect, and hold such love in our hearts in this hour. Grant that we may find your strength when our own falters. Grant that laughter may yet rise from these moments of sorrow. And Holy One, bless and keep us, that we together may do honor to the gift you have given us in the life of our brother Tom. This we pray in the name of all that is holy, Lord. Amen. As we gather, there'll be lots of opportunities to share and to hear from those of you who've been so gracious to help today. So at first, let me call on Alyssa to bring forward this reading, The Dash.
Good afternoon. My name's Alyssa Pikett, and I know Tom and Jane from working with them at the Mountain Retreat Learning Center in Western North Carolina. Over the years, we continued our friendship and a few perhaps ill-advised adventures, getting together in Brevard, Berea, up in Wisconsin, where I live. Tom and I forged our friendship working together, led by his perseverance, wisdom, optimism, and creative problem solving. but we also forged our friendship on runs through the mountains. We started running together at the mountain and continued to do so whenever we met up. We'd run and we'd walk and we'd talk about work and the world and what we wanted to do, what we were struggling with, and what gave us hope. I feel so grateful and so greatly privileged to have had Tom as a friend and a mentor for the last 15 years. My time with him changed me and made me a better person. His counsel and steadfast support have been a bedrock for me, as I know it has been for so many other people. Today, I'm honored that Jane asked me to read a piece that Tom has read on previous occasions, making us all feel connected to him. The Dash by Linda Ellis. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of her birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth. And now only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash, it might only last a while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash?
I first saw Tom sitting in the Mountains dining hall in a red sweater. Those of you who know him probably remember that sweater. I could only see him from the back, but I did my best to fire subliminal messages at him to leave this place and not come back. That was the equivalent of an evil eye that I could muster at the tender age of 11. Okay, so it was really more about the fact that he was here to replace the director who happened to be the father of my very first crush, which was really the only reason that I wanted to move to North Carolina. But lucky for us, and lucky for Tom, I tend to not hold a grudge for very long. Little did I know that man in the red sweater would become one of the most important people in my life, shaping the person I've become and the person that I strive to be. Fortunately, Tom's first experience at the mountain was not tarnished by my efforts at evil juju. The story goes something like this. He and Jane contemplated moving to North Carolina to answer their calling and make the world a better place. Tom walked into a room and heard the voices of angels singing the songs, "The Wind Beneath My Wings." He decided then and there that this was the place he needed to be. It was a good thing that the angels were well-versed at putting on a show, because those teenage girls, better known as Jilly, Maggie, and Joy, were full of eye rolls and attitudes behind the scenes. The good news was he stayed. And as I recovered from the tragic loss of my first crush, I began to see Tom as a constant pillar of strength, who somehow always seemed to know the right thing to say. No matter the cruelty or disrespect people spat at him, he remained stoic and compassionate. No matter how difficult times were, he always found a way to take care of his family, friends, and staff. This is the leader that I try to be in everything that I do, although those who know me know that I can be a little hot-headed at times, but I try. There's a story Tom used to tell that has stuck with me and shaped who I am more than any other statement. I work in academia, which means long hours, lousy pay, and frankly baffles most people why anyone would choose that life, me included. I also rescue every animal that crosses my path that needs help, but I blame my mom for that one. I get asked all the time, what's the point? You can't change the world. You can't save them all. My response is always the same, and it comes from Tom's story. There was a little boy walking down the beach that kept picking things up and throwing them back into an ocean. An old man walked up behind him and realized that there were hundreds of sand dollars that had washed up on the beach. The little boy was picking them up one by one and throwing them back into the water. The old man asked him, "What's the point? You can't save them all." The boy picked up another sand dollar and held it up for the man to see. And before throwing it back into the water, he said, "It makes a difference to this one," and threw it back in. We may never know the impact that we make in life, but Tom taught me that we still have to try every day. When my dad suddenly died on May 20th, 2013, Tom somehow mustered the strength to help my mom through it, organizing finances, mowing the lawn, never once letting us see his own anguish at losing his best friend. Three months later, when my mom died, he again stepped up and took care of every detail so that we could mourn the loss of our parents. He never let his anguish at losing his other best friend prevent him from caring for the 3 newly orphaned women. He was always there for us, no matter what. So when Jane told me that Tom fell and broke his hip and was having surgery, I knew it was my turn to be there for him. We did everything we could to make sure that he was taken care of. We were going to bring him home on May 21st, but Tom made his final move to take care of everyone. He left this world one day early. May 20th, the 7-year anniversary of my dad's death. In the Jewish faith, when two people die on the same day, they are bound together in the afterlife. I believe that my dad came to guide Tom to their next adventure. On the day he died, Jane, Shar, and I went to say goodbye, and I sang Wind Beneath My Wings to him one last time. And I swear there was a smile on his face that wasn't there before. We will miss you, Tom, and your legacy will continue.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shar Jackson. Shelley Jackson DENHAM, my sister-in-law and in heart, wrote the lyrics, composed the tune, and created the accompaniment for CREDO. It was commissioned by Shelley's and my home church in Cincinnati, and published in their hymnal as We Laugh, We Cry. Along with her husband Ian, Shelley organized the Mountain Quartet. You heard them when you first walked in, if you were here for the very beginning. She organized the Mountain Quartet with Tom and Jane Warth. Tom loved to sing. He and Jane sang in their college chorus. Bass and alto, president and librarian of the chorus. He championed the Mountain Quartet, and they performed widely in southeastern United States, and also, as we noted in the pictures, in Europe, singing songs with messages of community, peace, and justice. Also, of course, at the Mountain, where he served as CEO. He had a sonorous voice and a flair for performance. He was a joy to hear and to watch. And now, with the passing of Shelley, Ian, and Tom, the Mountain Quartet is no longer but a treasured memory. And Jane is still with us, and we can treasure her friendship and her voice. Thank you.
We cry, we live, we die, we dance, we sing our song. We need to feel there's something here to which we can belong. We need to feel the freedom just to have some time alone. But most of all, we need close friends we can call our very own. And we believe in life and in the strength of love. And we have found a need to be together. We have our hearts to give. We have our thoughts to receive. And we believe We seek elusive answers to the questions of this life. We seek to put an end to all the waste of human strife. We search for truth, equality, and blessed peace of mind. And then we come together here to make sense of what we find. Yes, we believe in life and in the strength of love, and we have found our joy being together. And in our search for peace, maybe we'll finally see, even to question truly is our answer.
Tom did, in fact, love music, and he shared that love of music with so many of us, and thank you for that wonderful piece that you've shared today, and thanks to our wonderful musicians who've made this music video possible. Tom was gracious to let me serve as one of his many clergy cloud. I imagine I was one of but a few, a great many, a few in this town, but he collected us, I think, because he himself was a living theologian, a practical theologian, if you will. Tom always had that drive that you've already heard the others talk about, to work for the community, to find the peace and justice underneath the simplest of tasks. And he engaged it with that strong, maybe even bullheaded kind of fortitude that comes from having to marshal forces and to run camps and committees and work with bullheaded ministers. He was, as several have noted in the chat, a bulwark of the music here. He was rock solid in our choir. He brought to all of the demonstrations and all of our peace work, he brought both organizational skill and a delight, a joy. He could be both organized and silly, a characteristic I have admired. Tom and Jane retired to Berea, and they joined Union Church here in 2015. I remember it was winter. And for many years, of course, you heard of how he had been at the Mountain, a mountain retreat and conference center, Unitarian Universalist camp in Highlands, North Carolina. So moving to Berea was, I think, something of both a silly delight and an organizational challenge, but one I have been forever grateful that you made, Jane, because both you and Tom brought to us such a wealth of love and gift. To those of us who were lucky enough to know him, lucky enough to be in the room, he was a talented supporter and sustainer. And these are spiritual gifts not often cherished. People who can be supporters, people who can have your back, people who can be a superb, supportive, amazing team member. And Tom was surely that. He was quick with praise and encouragement. He was helpful with critique if he had any. And he lent his skills and his energies to projects that mattered, both in his working life and here in retirement with us. He worked hard to bring good and light into this world. That became, of course, increasingly difficult as the disease eroded those impulses, and much of the burden, of course, fell to you, Jane. Your dedication in caring for him and managing household affairs as his partnership diminished and yours had to increase demanded true grit, my friend. So we hold you and all of the family and all of the friends gathered here, and all of you gathered around the country. Because it is no simple thing to lose such a supporter, encourager, and counsel. Tom wanted, naturally, to donate his body to science. Tom wanted to be the one who took care of everybody else in their infirmities. Of course, our current circumstances changed all of our plans about that, and Tom's illness changed his ability. And as confidence and ability transformed more and more for him into anxiety and incapacity, I think we all felt as though the man we knew was slipping away. I want to suggest, however, that despite that reality, despite the truth of that loss, its real consequences, the reality of its impossible circumstances, that I do not think it possible that Tom was erased by what happened, not to his mind and not to his body. I do not think that the good he brought into this world, the good he sought in this world, the good he carried with him from all of you and from wherever else its source derived, I do not think that that good was erased because a frail body or a misplaced neuron took center stage in the last act. Let us not make the mistake of thinking that just the way we end is the summation of how we lived. On the contrary, it may have been a denouement none one would have chosen, but it gave all of us a chance to put into practice what he had spent a lifetime trying to teach. That we rally when a calamity occurs, that we gather around the ones who need it most, that we pluck up the courage and we find a way when there doesn't seem to be one, and we cry if we must, and we walk when we can, and we fight like hell to bring about the good that we know we deserve and that our loved ones deserve. And if he couldn't do it in that moment, he'd spent a lifetime trying to teach all of us how. Some in this room and some watching, I know, were critical parts of that. And even if it didn't seem so at the time, I know from talking with family what your simple, small, and maybe singular acts of kindness meant in a time when gathered together, they formed the light that lit the path. Being strong and mature in faith does not mean being unyielding or unaffected. It does not mean we do not weep. It means that we can hold that full range of reality, the brokenness and the gift, in the same hand, and we can hold it in the light of God's healing love. Both loss, tragic, and that which is release, brings sorrow and gift. There are a lot of things, my friends, that are worse than death. There are a lot of things that are worse than death. The finality and the absence of one we have loved so long is no little thing, but we could not have wished for him to needlessly suffer more. And we know that one day our wild and precious life too, in this world, will come to an end. Somewhere between those poles of sorrow and release, of finality and immortal gifts, lies God's grace and the Spirit's power that intervenes when time and distance and words are all collapsed. Tom was bright, he was sharp, he was funny, he enjoyed a good laugh, he could sing like nobody's business. And when he couldn't do any of those things anymore, who would keep him in that? No, I'm glad of that release, even as I am sad for his loss. I would not wish any more suffering, but for all of us, of course, I would wish 1,000 years of that music to sing and play with him. Those of you who have already made yourself known in the chat, thank you. If you put your name in and just where you're from, I know that that will be a grace to the family. Because what I want to say about all of that is that the light that we are all missing, that too is not entirely gone. It has been placed into our hands. It has been given to us as a trust. It has been placed there by a man who spent his life trying to gather it from those he knew so that it could come just to you, just to you, just to you. Each of us may be carrying a different part of it, but as I has oftentimes noted about candlelight, when you light a candle from another candle, neither is diminished, but the light augments and spreads. And so in this moment, let us praise. Let us remember not the last hours of infirmity, but let us remember the life of amazing generosity of spirit, of incredibly hard work through hard times, of perseverance when he might have not, when he might have walked away, of challenges that he held and gritted his teeth through and still laughed around and lived around and offered light around and offered hope to all with. This is not only a day of sorrow. It is a day of amazing thanksgiving. Thanksgiving that there were such men in this world to teach such people as are listening now how we might be just this much better in our own way, in our own lives, in our own struggles, to be just this much better, to work together, to seek good, to find grace, to pull up and pull through. He would say, yes, you will, yes, you can. And so we should. So let all the people praise. Let all the people praise. Love and light that leads and guides. As I said, Tom was an amazing member of the choir here, and the choir has put together this composite video in just a small token of appreciation for all his music, the great harmony of his love and life.
Sing praise to the Father, sing praise to the Son, sing praise to the Spirit, three in one. Let all the people praise the name of the Lord.
Sing praise to the Father, sing praise to the Son, sing praise to the Spirit, three in one. Let all the people praise the name of the Lord.
All voices and instruments praise
The Lord has been faithful to all generations, walking beside us through smoke and through flame, in sunshine and shadows, protecting, providing, in all times and seasons.
O God, our help in ages past, our hope for years to come, our shelter from the stormy blast, and our eternal home.
Praise to the Father, all praise to the Son, all praise to the Spirit, our God, three in one. Let all the people praise the name of the Lord. Sing praise to the Son, sing praise to the Spirit, our God, three in one. Let all the people praise. Let all the people praise. Let all the people praise.
I am fortunate to have been close to Tom. We talked often. I remember the first lunch that we shared. The server came up to us afterwards and asked whether it would be one check or should she split it. And Tom said, "Go ahead and split it. Give part to that table over there and part to this table over here." We sang together and we walked together on the Stevenson Trail at Anglin Falls, in the Red River Gorge, and along the River Ness in the Highlands of Scotland. I thought today about asking Jane if I could borrow his bright blue shoes that he wore on our last walk through the Arboretum in Lexington. In my heart, I keep memories of those times, but I cherish most our time about a year ago, sitting quietly at the water's edge at Owsley Fork Reservoir. Tom had lost most of his words by then. I can imagine that in his quiet, words like those of the writer Edward Cameron might have been tumbling around in his head. Shortly before his death, Cameron delivered this lecture to his own ailing body. "When you can go no further, I shall leave you and be free. When we separate, I shall continue to exist. A power greater than you or I started us on our journey. Your journey is approaching its end, and you are aware of it. My journey has merely begun, and I know it because I have never been more alive. Our separation is therefore not one of sadness, but of joy. You are weary and want to stop. I am looking to alight from this slowing vehicle and go on without you." I can imagine, too, that Tom, had he known the poet Colleen Hitchcock, her words might have mingled with his as he considered his own leaving. She wrote, "And if I go while you're still here, know that I live on, vibrating to a different measure, behind a thin veil you cannot see through. You will not see me, so you must have faith. I wait for the time when we can soar together again, both aware of each other. Until then, live your life to its fullest. And when you need me, just whisper my name in your heart, and I will be there. As it was by the water's edge, Tom did break the silence, finding his words simply to marvel at the beauty of the world and of his life with Jane.
I would like to thank all of you for being here today, and those of you watching, to celebrate my father's life. Losing my father is one of the most difficult things I've gone through. As I'm standing up here today, I realize how fortunate I was and am to have had him as my father. There are not any words to express his influence in my life. It is through his example that I learned to be the father that I am today. My father was hardworking, strong, loving, and gentle. He loved his family and was so deeply devoted to my mom. I remember one time, very young, I asked my mom, "Why does Dad work so much?" She looked at me and said, "Everyone's dad works a lot." I didn't realize it then, but that was one of the biggest lessons I learned from my dad, the value of hard work. He truly believed that if you worked hard, treated people right, and with a little luck, you could have a good life. My dad was always there for everyone, family, colleagues, and friends. My dad was hardworking, compassionate towards everyone, and deserved the success and the rich life that he enjoyed. My father taught me many, many things, but I think most importantly, he gave me the ability to know that if you really put your mind to something, anything is possible. And never be afraid to give anything a chance, even if you fail. My dad's love was unconditional, and this is something I will cherish from his character and take with me forever. His kindness and generosity will be remembered by all who had the pleasure of knowing him. I'm humbled by my mom's strength over the past few months and her ability to focus on the amazing life that she shared with my dad, and not dwell on what she has lost. I hope that through this, I can find strength from her example and be there for her when she needs me. And please know that my dad will always be a part of all of us in his own unique and special way.
These reflections remind us of all the light that there was and all the light that remains, to help us turn loose of what must be let go in this moment. I invite you now to find a candle or to take an oil lamp, and if you even don't have those things, to simply hold in your mind the light that you recall. Don't light it yet, in a minute. Right now, if you're watching at home, if you would like to place a name, a gift, a word that Tom's life is leaving with you in your world, if you'd like to share a memory or a thought, we'll save all of them for the family. We're remembering that Tom's light burned long and beautifully and left behind a legacy of light, a legacy of strength, of teaching, of perseverance, it certainly left a legacy of beautiful music. What words are you thinking of? As you think of it, light your own candle at home, if you're able. The light grows as we tell the stories. Love grows when we share it. Peace and comfort that he offered to others for his service. For his gifted ability to be a friend. For his willingness to share wisdom. For the beauty that he cherished in his family, in Jane, in all those who surrounded him. For the way he laughed. For dogged organization. For a celebration of the truth. For hope. For teaching others to take seriously their life. And all the loves that were theirs to give. For these and many other gifts, we light these candles and remember the love. to all that is gracious and good, to all that is loving and that strengthens us. We lift these lights. Holy One, help us carry this light forward. Help us remember the gifts that have come from the life of our brother Tom. And in the absence of his light, may our light never fail to burn brightly because of the fire and fuel he offered us. We return to that which is love, the love. All that was earthly and no longer needed, we release. Not to darkness, but to more light, to more love, to more hope, to more peace. Well done, good and faithful servant. May God receive you and grant you rest, peace, and power. You leave behind an enlightened path. Amen.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love
notices the face mask I have on that her little granddaughter made me with a cow on it. I hope you all will go to the Forever Missed website as we continue sending our loving thoughts to Tom. It was set up by Megan, and I have received many nice messages from it. You've heard many wonderful words today, but I want to share a short quote given to me by my favorite memory keeper leaders, Carla Gilbert and Doug Heineman. It is by Mark Nepo from a piece entitled Awakening. None of us is exempt from the turmoil and pain that arises when what we want is love. For once we pour ourselves into loving another person, it seems as if they take who we are with them when they go. In every space opened, when what we want gets away, a deeper place is cleared in which the mysteries can sing. If we can only survive that pain of being emptied, we might yet know the joy of being sung through. Strangely and beautifully, each soul is a living flute being carved by life on earth to sing a deeper song. I want to thank every one of you for coming today and sharing this deeper song with me. I thank the church staff for their generous help, my friends who've spoken today, and I thank and bless my family, my son Todd, and my lifelong friend and cousin, Ellen. Where are you, Ellen? There you are. Many have driven far to be here today, and I appreciate that deeply. And many more are in our virtual audience on Facebook, YouTube, and the church website. Having all of you in this special place with me is truly the best gift. Thank you.
I'm Carla Gilbert. I will say that my time with Tom and Jane enriched my life immensely and continues to do so in memory with Tom, but also with Jane. I offer to you the benediction. Go in peace, my friends. May the Lord bless and keep you this day and forevermore. And an Apache blessing. May the sun bring you energy every day, bringing light into the darkness of your soul. May the moon softly restore you by light, bathing you in the glow of restful sleep and peaceful dreams. May the rain wash away your worries and cleanse the hurt that sits in your heart. May the breeze blow new strength into your being, and may you believe in the courage of yourself. And may you walk gently through the world, keeping your loved ones with you always, knowing you are never parted in the beating of your heart. And as Tom would say, as he did at the end of his own message, let's work together for the good. Amen.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fear